topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to Entrepreneurs Ascending, where we believe in a better life through better business. Here, we help you aspire to greatness, achieve your goals, and ascend to new heights. Whether you're starting, scaling, or exiting, we're here to empower you with inspiring stories, enlightening discussions, and transformative resources to help you accelerate your success. Now, it's time for Entrepreneurs Ascending. Welcome to Entrepreneurs Ascending. So great to have you here with us today. And we have a special guest with us today, Brian Schraut, who is actually a coach with Time for Success Coaching, part of our coaching team, and actually is a coach with our private coaching groups. But he has a wonderful background of being in a family-owned business. Maybe sometimes a challenging background, but being in a background of of a family-owned business.
Say the least.
And so we welcome on the show as we talk about navigating this very difficult topic for a lot of folks. It can be so rewarding, but yet so challenging because I've worked with a lot of family-owned businesses, and of course, Time for Success Coaching. I'm getting my daughter involved and working to build it as kind of a family-owned business, if you will, as well. And so welcome. It's so wonderful having you on the show with us again, Brian. It's been a while. So, Brian, can you just remind everybody a little bit more about who you are and just a little bit about that family HVAC business that you had?
Sure. So, started by my parents back in 1982. And so I grew up in the business. My parents worked long hours, just kind of working through it all. Through high school, I started working a lot more. Was working, during the summers and after school, with it. And then went to school here in St. Louis, went to UMSL. And so, I started working full time and going to school full time. I really liked the kind of the freedom of, or the idea of, the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. Nothing was given to you. You work for it and you got it. And that's how you kind of attained it. So worked through college, working full time and doing that, really taught me a lot of doing those types of things. Took over the business as principal partner in 2006. And then, grew it, over that course of time, and I sold it in 2019.
All right. So you took it over in 2006, and then 2019, you were able to exit the business. And, I think that's an awesome thing. A lot of people, they don't know what steps to take. And so hopefully we can dig into that a little bit. So yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So just what was it like growing up in a family business?
Stressful at times, fun at times. My parents would always make sure that they made time to be at different things that I had to need to be at. But then the other side of that is there was many times that they were working long hours or we couldn't do certain things. I mean, we never went on vacations during the summer. If we did, it was a weekend to the Lake of the Ozarks. I never saw the ocean until I was, 22 years old or, somewhere around that time frame. So, never being able to do those types of things, but, it taught taught me how to work hard. And, there's a lot of things you didn't know how to do and you figure it out where, I think a lot of times nowadays people are like, well, I don't know how to do that, so I'm just not going to do it, and that was never the case with us. Whatever, there's lots of things we didn't know what we were doing, or I didn't know what I was doing. And, you dealt with it and you learned from the school of hard knocks for it.
So that's one of the benefits of a family-owned business, that you get that extra degree from the school of hard knocks. Is that
pretty much? Yeah.
But you said something I think is wonderful and probably touches on the heart of a lot of the people who are listening about how they were able to be at your school events, your family events, your sporting events. Was that kind of like one of their motivators to be able to just have that freedom of time, more or less, in terms of the kind of that being able to control it, or what do you
For
recall?
me, yes,
Yeah,
as owner, but for my parents, no. I mean,
mm,
my father was laid off in 82 and had nothing else to do. So he started his own business, and the typical, service technician, um, business is slow. I'm going to start my own business, and that's
yeah,
kind of where it went. My mom really, the business wouldn't have survived without my mom. I mean, my my dad was a great service technician, a great installation person, but not the greatest business person in the world. My mom was the one who really held it all together and kept it together. So,
hmm So how do you feel being part of that family-owned business with seeing your dad work hard as a technician and watching your mom develop her business skills? How do you think that affected you as you grew up?
oh, it tremendously affected me, as well. But it also made me realize that there's a lot of people that don't necessarily know what they're doing in business as well. And my parents were very much that in that category. I mean, that's why I went through. I had a great mentor, who my parents were afraid of. He was the owner of the carrier distributorship here in St. Louis. I was a 16-year-old kid the first time I met him, and we just hit it off. And until he passed last March, I talked to him every week, every 2 weeks. But it was that type of mentorship, and he really coached me and taught me a lot about business. And then also having just coaches along the way. He was more of a mentor, type, and then having some coaches to help you along the way really help grow who you are, and about how to do business.
hmm So where was it along the way where you realized that you wanted to join the family business? Was it kind of like always from an early age where there's some times where you're like, no, I don't even want any part of this?
Yeah, so I mean, it really came down. I honestly, I really wanted to be an architect out of high school. Um, Realistically, it just wasn't going to happen as far as me going away to school and finances and so forth. So, you know, and so just kind of starting, working full time, going to school full time. I got into it, and I just really enjoyed. I enjoyed the I don't know. I enjoyed the win, the thrill of the win, of the sales, the close. It was always a game to me. Is how much can I sell? How much can company grow? How much can we do? And that was the part that I really did enjoy.
Mhm.
Um, People would always ask me when my kids were growing up, "Well, your kid's going to take over," and I, truly, I do recommend this for any family-owned business. Let the kids go away, go do their own thing. Maybe it's working for another company in the same industry, whatever it might be, but let them go away and do their own thing. And then when they want to come back, they'll come back with no regrets. And that's what you really want. Um, you know, Too many times and I'm kind of that same way. Like, okay, what would have been if I would have been an architect instead of, staying in the family business? But I think they need to know and do it willingly, not kind of, well, I think I want this, or this is what my parents want, or this is what's expected of me. Go
Mhm.
away, do what you want to do, and then if you really want it, come back. And the people that I've seen do that in other heating cooling businesses, a couple energy companies that I'm friends with, owners, they've done that, and those companies really have exploded, after they came back.
So, what do you think that does for them? Does it give kind of like a little bit of a taste of what real life might be like, or does it just
I
kind of
think
help them to see
it's
a different
I think
way?
it's
Or
yeah, I think it's twofold there. It is,
Mm,
showing them, hey, what is it like actually working for somebody else, and the other, what is it truly like and what you like. Um, but then the other side of it is letting them, if you come back, you want to come back, and there's a reason you want to come back, not that you're just doing it for family or because you're thinking you're supposed to, or guilt, or And then a lot of that too, sometimes there's a lot of guilt. I talk to a lot of, children of businesses that there's a lot of guilt to feel like they have to come through and have to take this over from mom and dad and have to be able to help continue the family name, the family business. So I think going away and coming back, that's their choice then. And then that's, that makes a big difference.
So it makes it be kind of about the choice. Yeah. Cause I think there's a lot of family businesses, and I'm trying to be careful about navigating this, even with my daughter, and that not making it necessarily, I guess, a requirement where they feel like it's something they're being told to do. But like you said, it's being something that they have their own free will to be able to step into, as opposed to.
And then when they come back, they're going to give it their all. Then at that point, the other time is you'll see too where it's just what they're doing, and they're given the parents necessarily give the opportunity to them, and they might not fully take it and run with it. They're just kind of doing status quo type of things. They're not doing with the maximum amount that they could be or should be to make that business grow. Because a lot of times the other is they'll see, okay, mom and dad were very successful and get in, and they don't feel like they have to do as much as what mom and dad did because it's already there. It's already churning. It's already doing. But, you and I both know that at times then it's going to run out. So you've always got to be growing. You always got to be working the business. You can't just get in it and just be okay with it.
So as you were stepping into this business and you made that decision to, like, I guess, what was that moment where you made the decision personally that you were going to take ownership of the business, and you were going to build it beyond your father's involvement and your mother's involvement?
It really just was that, that entrepreneurial spirit of saying, okay, here's this opportunity. They've built a good base, but I know I can do a lot better with it. I can build it and I can grow it. And having that ability with, again, it comes back to however hard you work is what you reap out of it. And I do like that.
So I think conflict is typically one of the biggest challenges in a family-owned business. For the family-owned businesses that I have coached, and for myself, and just talking with other family-owned businesses, that conflict, because of kind of like all the baggage, right, of people growing up together and those expectations of the way somebody is going to handle this or that. How do you feel like what was your trick or your secret for navigating conflict with your family and being able to not let it affect the business negatively?
Yeah, a lot of it was just really having to show that change is better. Father was very much, this is the way I've done it, it's the way we're always going to do it type of mentality. And you run into that a lot. Or I have this particular thing that is done this particular way, and I always want it done that way, even though there's probably 3 or 4 other ways of doing it faster, more profitable, what have you. So it's a matter of showing them, 1, giving respect to them, but then 2, being able to show them what's the real reason why we want to do this, not just to be making a change for a change situation. And sometimes once you talk it through, there might be a really good reason why they want a particular thing done a certain way that you weren't seeing. But being able to not escalate and have those knockdown, drag out fights about things, to be able to, to actually have conversations about it. But also sometimes, that fighting is good sometimes. I mean, the old, Paul Tuttles of the world, of them, screaming and yelling at each other and throwing things across the room that, that never happened, but, it very easily could have at times when you're both very heated about what you believe. And that's a good thing, because you're ultimately just trying to make the business better.
Yeah. Yeah. So how is that different than like working with an employee? Like, typically, I guess with an employee, I mean, they might have a heated discussion with you. I mean, did you find that it was difficult? Did you find it was?
Yeah. Oh, it's
Yeah, go.
definitely difficult to do
Mm.
because you're not wanting to disrespect them. You're not wanting to to do that. But if you believe something, then you need to be able to to be able to stand up for what you believe, and then if you're wrong, be able to accept that you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that was as I be became owner and other thing, that always believing that I want to hire someone who's smarter or better than I am because that's going to make our business better, and be open to ideas and be opening to those. Where I think a lot of the parental generation isn't really open to that. It's just this way I do it and we're done. To,
Mm-hmm.
to at least be open to conversations, at least be open to find out why is there a better way or why do we want to do this a little different.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, just trying to be more open about it with your family. I guess with employees as well, though. Like, do you feel like handling these conflicts with the family that were oftentimes probably extremely emotional charged, like you said, like you could have maybe thrown something. Do you feel like that helped you to be a better leader and a better communicator with like the average employee and with your other team
Absolutely.
members?
Yeah, absolutely. It
Okay.
made you just being able to, like I said, be open to ideas, be open to it.
Okay.
You
Hmm.
know, I always said I'm open to every idea. However, I do have the final decision whether I'm going to change it or not. You know, and that's
Hmm.
kind of unfortunately how my father was, and it took time and discretion, or me doing some things without him necessarily knowing, and then being able to say, see, it worked, and that's why we want to continue to do these things. But yeah, it just takes time and to be able to have an understanding of how to make it work.
Yeah. Yeah. Typically, it's good though that you communicate that with somebody first before you start doing things without them knowing, though, right?
Yeah, usually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what was the most difficult thing about that transition from, your father running the company to you taking over full time?
Um, Probably just the biggest thing is it was with my father. It's kind of weird. Is once I kind of came in and took over, he kind of just took a back seat to
Uh,
everything and just kind of removed himself. And I still have my mom there running the office and running the show, the every day. So that was good. But it was it's a lot different than probably a lot of people that they're hard to let go. Where my father was like, I'm done, and checked out. I mean, it's like the first time he took me on a sales call when I was 18. Went on a sales call. Did it. He said, "You like it?" I said, "Yeah, yeah, but it was fun." He goes, "Okay," and he never went on another sales call with me ever again. So it was kind of sink or swim, kid type of thing. So um, that, so he was completely kind of different than what most are. Most what we see, especially when we're coaching, is the parents don't want to let go. They're afraid that the kid's going to
yeah.
mess up. They're afraid they're going to do that, and so that's where you have to be able to show, hey, I got this. I know what I'm doing, and just continue to put up what the expectations they're wanting, but be able to put a little bit more into it.
Hmm. So, as you were looking, following this journey, right? You had the journey of where you grew up in the family business, and you had to make that decision of whether or not you wanted to make this your thing, and you did, and then set walking through the process of having to um, transition from taking it from your father and you running it. Now, I imagine all those years in the history and having your mom involved. I'm sure that point where you decided that you needed to sell it was probably a difficult decision to make. Is that fair to say?
Well, it's very well, very very fair to say.
Yeah.
A lot of guilt. A lot of hey, you know, is this the time? Do I continue to give this effort? Yeah.
Hmm.
It wasn't an easy decision. It wasn't a short decision, time frame decision either.
Hmm.
It was a good year decision for me to really decide to do that.
Okay. So, what kind of things do you have to take into consideration whenever you're thinking it's time that you want to potentially exit a business, and move on to that next stage in life?
Yeah. So, I mean, there, of course, financially, that's always the big thing,
Mm-hmm.
for it. Then you're looking for your legacy, you're looking for your reputation, you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, if you are going to sell, who's going to take care of how your employees are going to be taken care of, how are your customers going to be taken care of, what, how are things going to be left, that it's not, you know, a disaster, because so many times, things can come in and get bought and be done
Mm-hmm.
and changed very quickly. And so just trying to make sure that you're, how all that was going to happen. And that's what took, that takes a lot of time to kind of figure all that out.
Yeah. So what do you feel was like the biggest lesson that you learned during that exit process that you'd want to share and tell everybody, hey, avoid these pitfalls or make sure that you do this or that you plan for this?
I think the biggest thing is make sure that you have a lot of the full transition plan in place with contingencies. I think,
Mm,
we didn't have some contingencies in place. Um, some of the things that were implied, um, that I took as being implied, were not done after the sale. So some of those types of things to really just make sure that you kind of plan the great ups and downs of it, but then also the really lows of what a transition could be too. I think that way you're planned both ways, for it.
mm. Okay. So being able to talk through that, um, and looking back, I mean, kind of knowing that whenever you were taking over the business from like your father and planning for the future, what are some of the things that you feel like you knew at that point in time that would have helped better prepare you to scale it up and grow it and then eventually exit it?
Um, Basically, the biggest thing with my parents is they were very always afraid to spend money at the time to help, you know fund growth. And you have to be able to have some plans. um, they always just did things the way they always did them, um, not looking to change anything, to start looking towards using numbers versus just your gut on how to manage something, or when it's time to advertise, or when it was time to try to hire someone. And but to be able to use numbers, to be able to forecast, to be able to push and be able to know what you want to do, is key.
Mm. And then you feel like that's something that your dad and your mom never quite learned, whenever they had the business, to really use numbers and leverage numbers to be able to forecast and plan and strategize, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And you see that a lot of times, and especially in service businesses. You see it's a technician who starts their own business, who, they know what they're doing in the field, but they don't necessarily know numbers. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times they'll think hey, I'm making a great amount of money because it's just them doing the work. And then when you start adding people, you adding overhead and all these other things, they don't get how you need to budget, how you need to forecast for those things, and really you know what net profit is versus gross. That was always a big thing. Everyone's all hyped up on that gross number, but who really cares what a gross number is? It's the net number that you really should care about. And I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of people just get engrossed with the gross number.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, people talk about building a $1 million business, but it's really just a vanity number if you're not making enough money to enjoy it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So, so you said, looking back, the numbers, would you think there would have been a way, like when, like earlier on, before you took over, could there have been a way for you to get through to your dad and your mom to help them better understand the importance of numbers? I mean, if you have the knowledge that you have now, what would you have said to them?
Um, would have said, find a business coach. No, I think finding an accountant, maybe a bookkeeper, someone who would kind of understand numbers more to be able to just help do those things. I mean, and the other thing too is we were always so busy doing everything that a lot of times you weren't entering numbers until 6 months later. You weren't reconciling things, so you had no idea what you were spending money on. That's why I said they ran the business by your gut, because you were so busy doing the work, you didn't have the numbers to back it up. And I still can see that a lot with a lot of service businesses that are they're in that stage, that they're just busy, they're just running.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I got enough money to pay my bills, and okay, that's it. They're not concerned about the other things yet.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so just helping them to understand, like, this helps you really plan for where your money, or see where your money is going. This helps you to really have real control over your business. I think one of those things is, like, you don't really don't have control over your business unless you have control over the numbers. Because otherwise your bank statements are just kind of a surprise to you. It's like, oh, where'd that money go? Right.
Yep,
So
exactly.
yeah. So if you really want real control, that's good. So, well, as we wrap up here today and close out the show today on family business, what's a good way for people to reach out to you if they're trying to navigate this stuff within their own family business and are just kind of looking for some ideas on, how do I get through to my parents or my siblings, or, how do I figure out how to really break through those walls and help us all to be able to succeed together?
Yeah, absolutely. So probably easiest just is Brian at timeforsuccess.io. Just reach out, shoot me a quick email, and I'd be glad to follow up with you. Always open to just conversations. Love just hearing about businesses and how times we can help.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Brian, and thank you again for listening, the audience, of course. And we hope that you found some of this information that helps you to aspire for more and achieve at higher levels, and ascend to those higher levels, because really we're trying to build a community, and it can be a very lonely process just being an entrepreneur trying to kind of juggle it all. So please tap in, listen, and join our discussions. You can find us on Facebook and LinkedIn. You can reach out to Brian or myself, and just don't feel like you have to be out there trying to figure it out with nobody's got your back. So thanks again, and hope to see you on the next episode.
See you later. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Thanks, Brian. Thank you for being with us today. But now is the time to put what we talked about into practice. Remember, your family, employees, and community are depending on you to rise up and win. The great news is you're not alone. You're part of a resurgence of entrepreneurs who are ready to take their business, life, and impact to the next level, and we're going to do it together. This show is powered by Time for Success, where we help business owners every day who want more freedom and wealth while building a legacy of positive impact. Please follow Time for Success on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube for more helpful strategies and tools for creating the business and life of your dreams.